Go to Armando Raju, who's been talking to congressional sources covering the angle of what's going to happen now in terms of a replacement for the justice, which is obviously something that's already being looked at by Mitch McConnell and others. Manu, what are you hearing?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, Mitch McConnell is making it very clear that he wants to have a vote on the Senate floor before the end of the year. The ultimate question, Anderson.
Bader Ginsburg, who is not only a giant in the legal profession, but a beloved figure. And my heart goes out to all those who cared for her and care about her. And she practiced the highest American ideals as a justice, equality and justice under the law. And Ruth Bader Ginsburg stood for all of us. As I said, she was a beloved figure. As a young attorney, you all know the story. She persisted, overcoming a lot of obstacles for a woman in practicing law in those days, as well as she continued until she moved herself in a position where she could end up changing the law of the land, or leading the effort to provide equality for women in every field, and she led in the advance of equal rights for women. It's hard to believe, but it was my honor to preside over her confirmation hearing. I got to meet her at the time, and she and her ascension to the Supreme Court. In the decades since, she has been absolutely consistent and reliable, and a voice for freedom and opportunity for everyone. And she never failed. She was fierce and unflinching in her pursuit of the civil and legal rights of civil rights of everyone. Her opinions and her dissent are going to continue to shape the basis for a law for a generation. And tonight and in the coming days, we should focus on the loss of the justice and her enduring legacy. But there is no doubt, let me be clear, that the voters should pick the president, and the president should pick the justice for the Senate to consider. This was the position of the Republican Senate took in 2016, when there were almost 10 months to go before the election. That's the position the United States Senate must take today, and the election is only 46 days off. I think the fastest justice ever confirmed was 47 days, and the average is closer to 70 days. And so we should do this with full consideration, and that is my hope and expectation what will happen. Thank you all, and I'm sorry we had to learn it on the plane ride, but thank you very much.
How did you find out about that tonight? Would you change your position on adding more justices to the court, sir?
Former Vice President Biden reacting to the death of Justice Ginsburg, making clear from his perspective that it would be inappropriate for Mitch McConnell to do what he has now already said he will do, which is bring a vote on a replacement for Justice Ginsburg for President Trump. Vice President Biden was talking about filling the position. I want to go back to Manu Raju, who has new reporting on that. I'm sorry to have interrupted you, Manu. Just bring us up to speed on Mitch McConnell issued a statement, I guess it was about a little bit more than 50 or so minutes ago.
Yeah, and he made it very clear that the nominee will get a vote before the end of the year. That means when the Republicans still control the Senate, no matter what happens in November, and when President Trump is in the White House, no matter what happens in November, Trump's replacement will get a vote on the floor of the Senate. Now, it's unclear when exactly that will happen. Of course, it's unclear who that nominee will be, and it's also unclear whether the Republicans would have the votes to confirm a nominee. And that is the big question that we will be dealing with, and we'll be reporting out for the next 2+ months here up until the end of the year, because the Republicans can only afford to lose 3 senators if they want to get a nominee confirmed before the end of the year. And the ultimate question is that whether there'll be Republicans who say, look, we'll agree with essentially what Joe Biden said, that the next president should make that decision, the next Senate should make that decision. At the moment, there really are only a handful of Republicans that we are looking at who could fall in that direction. People like Susan Collins of Maine, Lisa Murkowski of Alaska, Mitt Romney of Utah, others more institutionalist type senators who are retiring, like Lamar Alexander of Tennessee. Where will they ultimately come down if the Democrats are successful in November? Now, one question I'm told is under consideration and discussion among Senate Republicans is whether they should try to move before November. Now, it's typical 2 to 3 months is the time frame for moving a nominee. That means after November, but it could presumably fast track. And one thing I am told that they are discussing is whether or not there would need to be 9 justices on the Supreme Court to deal with any election disputes. Of course, we expect there to be lots of legal challenges, potentially over mail-in voting, especially if the election is close. That is going to be a discussion here in the Senate, whether they need to fast-track a nominee to deal with it come Election Day. But, of course, that raises all sorts of other issues that they will have to consider here. President naming a nominee who could presumably preside over a disputed election. So those are all major questions that will decide the balance of the court and will affect Americans' lives for years to come here, Anderson.
Manu Raju, thanks very much. I want to talk more about this. Gloria Borger, Jeff Toobin, Paul Begala. Jeff Toobin, just the idea of do there have to be 9 justices in order for the court to make a decision, which is what Manu just raised?
Not at all. In fact, because Mitch McConnell kept Antonin Scalia's seat vacant for more than a year, the court functioned fine with 8. And you mentioned something earlier that I think is worth focusing on a little bit, which is that, a lot of people think the number of Supreme Court justices is set in the Constitution. It's not. And it's changed over the years. I mean, it hasn't changed for more than 100 years, but it is if the Republicans jam through a second nominee in a second seat that many Democrats believe have been stolen, the Democrats, if they control the presidency, the House, and the Senate, can increase the number of justices. They can add 1, 2, 3 justices to the Supreme Court if that's simply a law. It's not in the Constitution, and you can be sure if this vacancy is filled under these extraordinary circumstances, there will be a lot of Democrats who want to do just that if Joe Biden and the Democrats win in November.
Paul Begala.